have you ever had an experience where you've been in a bad situation, or you were hoping for something to happen, or you were waiting for something bad to come to an end, and you were kind of like making promises with yourself or with the universe or with God, or kind of saying to yourself, if I can just get through this situation, I'll be so happy, or if I can just get this thing, I'll be so grateful, and if this will go a certain way, I'll just be, if I survive this, I'll be content to just sit at home and watch TV, and I won't care about anything. I just need, and then a week later, the situation passes by, and you've just forgotten all about it, and you don't care anymore, and you're back to just living in your kind of default mode of like, whether that's being bored with things, or being fed up, or being stressed, or whatever else. So a thing I've been doing recently is making a really pointed effort to remember and appreciate my victories, the things that did go the way I wanted them to, the times when I was in those situations and it went well. I touched on this a little bit in a previous video about my dog, it's so useful. It's such an amazing way, above all, just to sort of boost your own mood, really, immediately, So that's what this video is going to be about. Excuse the weird thumbnail, by the way. It's not a very grabbing title, and I think it's an important topic, and I wanted people to see the video. So I've had this a few times recently. I had the example of the dog that I mentioned before. I talked about that in a previous video, but also I've had a couple of other things. Like, this is kind of a weird one, but a few weeks ago there was a situation where I thought I thought I had given myself herpes. I know it sounds kind of weird. Basically, for those who don't know, cold sores, if you've ever had a cold sore, or which I think 2/3 of people do, if I remember correctly, so the majority of people have cold sores at some point in their life, like on their mouth. If you've ever had one, that is herpes. And there's two types of herpes. People think, sorry, I don't want this video to be about herpes. And by the way, just to clarify, I don't have herpes. I have to make that clear now. But I know a lot about it now through this, anxiety-inducing experience I had. There's two types, and people think it's oral and genital herpes. Those aren't the two types. There's basically herpes 1 and 2. Both of them can be either oral or genital. You can only get each type pretty much almost 99.99% of the time in one place. So you could, for example, have HSV1 on your mouth and HSV2 on your genitals, or vice versa, but you couldn't have HSV1 on your mouth and HSV1 on your genitals. It's almost impossible, basically impossible. Some people doubt whether it is even possible at all, but it's maybe. Anyway, yeah, I've always had very occasionally had cold sores, and whatever, presumably HSV1, I don't know. It must be, yeah. There's not a great deal of difference between the two anyway, but yeah, so I've always had them, and I'd had a really bad one this time, and I very rarely get them. It'd be like once every 2 years or something they pop up, and I had a particularly bad one, and then I just had something on my dick, basically, like a kind of like just a bit of irritation from something. I now know what caused it. It was just the equivalent of like a graze or something, but I just at the time I hadn't put two and two together. I hadn't realised where it had come from. Sorry, this is a really long story as well. A really roundabout way of getting to my point. But I've started it now, so I have to finish it. And and I suddenly was like, I was telling my ex-partner, and I was saying like, I don't know why I've just suddenly got this like weird like irritation on my dick. I don't know what's caused it. And she was like, but you've got that cold sore, right? Like, have you been touching your cold sore? And I just remember, like, it's just one of those times in my life where everything went into slow motion. Like, I literally remember, like, I can't explain it. If you've had that feeling where you have a horrible realization and you feel the blood drain from your face and everything just sinks. I just remember everything was just like, oh, Like I was like shivering at this thought, like, oh my God, that's what it is. Like I jumped to conclusions very quickly, basically, like, and I thought, oh my God, like, because I was touching it a lot because I thought it was acne, and I was like putting stuff on it, and then I would like, you know, in there it's like, it's a small bathroom, so I'd be touching it, and then I'd go for a piss, and then I thought, like, definitely I've touched it, and then I've touched my dick, and I've given myself genital herpes without even having sex, like without having sex to give myself genital herpes, not ever in my life. And I thought, like, it's a bit of a sick, twisted joke, really, that, like, yeah, I've given myself genital herpes, and I, without really, you know, doing my kind of due diligence, I didn't really, like, consider the other possibilities, and I just went ahead and assumed that I had genital herpes. This video might as well now just partially be about herpes, because I found a lot of interesting stuff. So basically, well, it's weird. There's this idea, like, if you have genital herpes, you have to tell people. So I was looking that up, and I was like thinking, okay, so it's not that easy to, like, meet people anyway. And then if I'm going to have sex with someone after a date, I have to be like, by the way, I have herpes. Like, that's, yeah, if someone's, and I'm not being like, I'm open-minded, I'm not a judgmental person, I try not to be like, but if a girl said that to me, like, I don't know, at the very least it would be off-putting. Like, it would be hard to enjoy having sex with her. It would be, like, weird. And I'm not saying that to further, like, stigmatize people who are in that situation, because I think it's really out of order. If it was like someone you're, like, romantically involved with, like, it's a different story, and I think at a certain point I'm sure, like, those people can still have, like, happy sex lives and stuff, but it's pretty fucked up, really, the whole situation they find themselves in, because anything like that, it's just off-putting, really. But you don't have to, even if you don't have an active outbreak, you have to say that to people, right? Everybody agrees, like, you have to say that. You don't have to say that if you have cold sores, which is odd in a way, because if you have cold sores, those can easily turn into genital herpes. If you have a cold sore, you can easily give someone genital herpes. And I can't believe how much I'm talking about herpes, sorry. But you can, I didn't realize it'd be such a long example. You can easily give someone genital herpes from a cold sore. Like, obviously, if you have, like, oral sex with them, like, and you have a cold sore, then they can very easily get genital herpes. Really, it's no more or less difficult or easy than through sex. So, yeah, so it's a bit odd, it's a bit hypocritical, it's a bit, not hypocritical, but it's a bit of a double standard, it's a bit unfair, I think, on people. Say, for example, someone's partner has cold sores, and they go down on them, and then that person gets genital herpes. For the rest of their life, they're basically, like, branded a freak, and they have to tell everyone, I have herpes. And, like, yeah, if you're a woman, people will probably still have sex with you after you tell them that, but they're going to look at you weird, and, like, most of them will, I'm saying. Some people don't, that's great. Like, some people are really fucking based and just, like, open-minded, and they just look at things as they are, rather than being, like, you know, weird about it. But yeah, it's a bit weird that you don't have to say that if you've ever had a cold sore, and it's just, in a way, like, another thing I've learned is, like, from what I can gather, maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound that bad, genital herpes. Like, it doesn't really seem like it's that bad. I'm really making myself sound like I have it, but I don't. Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of, it's a bit crazy, really. Mostly it's symptomless, it's just like an irritation. It's like a, yeah, anyway. So whatever I had, I figured out what it was. It was from my, I don't know if I have one here. I realised it was from using these. It's like a, so many weird passages of conversation opening up here, but this is a great product, actually. It's called the Manhood. It's for people who are, well, it's not even necessarily for people who are circumcised, but it's just a thing to, like, put your dick in when you sleep, basically. I'm pretty much fully restored post circumcision, but I still just use one of those anyway. And yeah, I think it was the Velcro on that, basically, because, like, what I saw afterwards was, like, it's not even like a blister. It was gone after a day. I was just being ridiculous. I was just being a hypochondriac, basically, and it was fine. And also, it's not possible for me to have done that, because I've had this virus in my system as cold sores for years. It's not possible for me to have spread it like that. There's, like, no precedent for it. So it's just, like, basically impossible. So just being a fucking idiot, basically. But I spent this whole day thinking I had it. I'm finally getting to the crux of this story. Sorry. I spent this whole day thinking that I had herpes, and that now I was like, okay, well, that's like another part of my life that's ruined, and obviously people are just going to think I'm weird, and everyone I say it to is going to be like, I don't really want to have sex with you. Yeah. And then I found out I didn't. I found out it was impossible, and I realized anyway that like I didn't. And since then, every time I remember it, I'm just like, fucking yes, like I don't have herpes, and I just remember to celebrate it constantly. And it sounds weird, maybe this whole video is a mistake, but it really actually makes me quite happy. Like I forced myself to remember, like I was so fucking unhappy that day, and that day, here's the point of it, is that day when I had it, I was like, when I thought I had it, I don't have it. When I thought I had it, I kept saying to myself, I was so lucky before. I had all these like insecurities about various things. I was depressed about all this. And then I was sort of like in the mindset of a person who had this fucking horrible affliction. And I was thinking, I was so lucky before. I had no idea how lucky I was. I had no idea how easy I had it and how straightforward things were. And I was always bitching and moaning and being unhappy about just insecurities basically. And I keep having to remind myself of that. I keep having to remind myself that of that frame of mind I was in when I thought this terrible thing was happening, like how lucky I realized I was prior to that. And had it been real, if I had had herpes and then something even worse had come along, I would have realized as well, probably that's fucking tiny. That means nothing. I can still, I'm fine. I can walk around. I can fucking go outside. I can enjoy food. I can experience love. I can do things that I like doing. I'm free. I'm not in prison. I'm not going to die in a year. So many things would still have been so good. But it was a really useful way in to realizing it was a help. I understand people talk a lot about practicing gratitude, and I think it's a great thing to do, but this was just a specific way of doing it for me that was really helpful. It really allowed me to kind of hone in on things specifically that I feel or should feel lucky or grateful for. So that's been really useful for me recently. And the same with the dog. Every time there's a moment where I'm like, oh, I've got to, walk an hour or whatever, and I'm a bit tired today and I'm busy and I've got other things to do, I just remember, I was looking at her yesterday when we were out, and I thought if she had to go back, if I hadn't been able to keep her, I would think about her every day. I know it sounds silly about a dog, I just really love this dog. And I knew it would have made me so fucking sad, and I would have been thinking about her all the time, and I would have missed her so much. I would have worried about her and thought hope she's being treated okay and that she's alive and shit, and I don't know, yeah. And every time I start to get a hint of that kind of lack of gratitude, or understandable annoyance at certain situations, or frustration, or whatever it is, I just remind myself of that, and it feels really good, because it's not reminding myself in a kind of punitive way, or to diminish my own feelings. It's just a way of saying hey, this is amazing, this is great, think of this. Because at the time in my head I was like, oh, I'll do anything, I'll just, I just want this thing to go this way, or for example with the herpes situation, I was like, I just don't want to have this, I don't care about anything else anymore, I just don't want to have this. Well, I got my way in both those situations, so now it's my responsibility to start appreciating the things that I told myself I would appreciate, and to live in the way that I said I would. There are other examples. I guess those two are probably illustrative enough. But like I've been doing it with music as well, because I made an album a few years ago that I think personally is like, basically I'm very proud of it. I won't get into my own sort of lofty opinion of this album, because it'd be, people will think I'm an arsehole, but I think it's really, really good. Basically, I think it's like amazing, and I'm really proud of it. And it's like something where I think like, okay, that's the level of work when I started out that I was aiming to make, and still I look at it years later, I look back at it and I think, yeah, that's in my opinion, like, to me it's a masterpiece. And I think that is the level, that is the sort of if I never achieve anything better than that, I won't be disappointed. I'll be happy that I achieved something like that, and I think it's special. And I've been reminding myself of that all the time when I'm going through creative frustrations, and I'm thinking, I keep looking at the calendar. I'm obsessed with like when things are going to come out and trying to achieve certain things in a certain time, and like I always feel behind, and I keep trying to remind myself, like, well, I made that years ago. Anything that happens after that is a bonus. And that's not an excuse to be lazy or complacent, but it's just like, fucking be in the moment and enjoy what you're doing now, and stop thinking like there's some race to like do things that I don't know. I don't have to feel so stressed about, it's sometimes you can do great things or experience great things, and then they're just gone. They're just behind you, and you're just thinking like, where's my next fucking hit? Where's my next thing? I mean, hit as in hit of dopamine, not like, smash hit. Where is my next kind of bit of success in life? And some people will disagree with this. Some people say you shouldn't look back, just keep looking forward, just keep like, I think sometimes for your own sanity, it's very important to look back in a positive light, and to actually lay down those markers and make a really firm commitment to remembering the things that did go the way that you wanted them to. It feels then like when you do more good things, or you have more good things, it's just adding to that collection. And in to some degree, I don't know how this will be as I start to get like much older than this, but it does make me feel better about my own mortality, because I feel like I can be on my deathbed or whatever. I'm looking very far ahead. Like, I know I look a little bit older than I am, but I'm really not that old. But I can be on my deathbed and think like, I did get the dog. I did make this thing that I'm really proud of. The herpes thing, by then I like to think I would have forgotten about, and I'm not going to be on my deathbed and be like, yes, I didn't have herpes, But there'll be other things that don't involve herpes, hopefully. And it's really important. I think it's really important to remember those victories, those successes, those good moments, and to lay down markers and to let them be a part of your own internal narrative, the story of your life that you tell yourself and that you think about on a daily basis. Because otherwise, you might make yourself more vulnerable to feeling like crap, basically, about things, about yourself, about the world. So yeah, that's a thing that's been useful for me recently. Sorry I haven't been doing very many videos. I've been quite busy, but I'm gonna try and do some more. Yeah, cool. Have a nice day.